Yeah, I would say that the 2024 version of me is a lot more perception based than the 2007 version of me. Uh, I'm a lot more comfortable with picking up on what people expect out of me, and like I don't mean it to sound like I'm fake or anything like that, but I would definitely consider myself a bit of a chameleon in the sense of like I could be in any social situation and pretty much understand how whoever I'm around expect me to behave. So, like, if it's a situation where it's like, hey, we're out to dinner, act like an adult, I could do that, very easily, not a problem. If I'm around somebody's parents, I'm great with that. If I'm around somebody's kids, great with that, that type of thing.
Yeah. Would you say you're unapologetically yourself?
Absolutely, no doubt about it. I mean, I think I always have been to an extent, but being able to, like, corral certain parts of my personality whenever I need to, I think is like a strength of mine. Like at work, whenever I'm in the back of the kitchen, it's fuck shit damn bitch all day long. But as soon as I'm outside with the 7 old ladies that hang out outside my apartment complex, I'm able to say, "Hey, how are you? Do you need your trash taken?" That kind of thing.
Yeah, you know your audience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
So how would you say that backyard wrestling and the people that you met from back then helped you get to where you are today, personally, professionally?
Well, okay.
How did your backyard experience form who you are today?
Yeah. So backyard wrestling shaped who I am today in a lot more ways than just backyard wrestling. I would say that's almost the smallest part of it. Like the biggest things for me are meeting Dominic and becoming great friends with Ed. Like Ed and I lived right down the street from each other for years and never really hung out until we had this common bond and this thing that we wanted to do together. And that made us closer than I've ever been with any other male in my entire life. I was in Dominic's wedding. I would have never know who he was if it wasn't for backyard wrestling. But the actual backyard wrestling stuff itself and the way that I was maybe perceived or treated on the internet, that played a huge role in my understanding of perception and stuff like that, because I started to understand what those people wanted of me, like even as a character or as a person or a hanger outer or whatever. There are so many different personalities around you at all times, like 50 upwards to sometimes 100 people at some of these shows. And whenever there's that many different humans around you and they're all coming up to talk to you to say hi or ask when their match is going to be because I'm booking the show, you have to know how you're supposed to interact with each individual person, right? So doing that for so many times over so many years eventually led me to the place where I just feel like I could talk to anybody about anything.
Yeah. And how did that make you feel as a person, I guess? Or how did you feel about being the booker, the guy in charge, the guy that everybody comes to?
So as it pertains to like me being the booker and people coming to me directly, a lot of the times it wasn't really like that, because while I was the one that put pencil to paper and I was the one with the location and technically I was in charge and setting up the dates and they were my shows as much as they were our shows as a backyard wrestling fed, SWC and the boys, a lot of people tended to go to Steve for whatever reason. So I didn't necessarily ever get that feeling of like I'm the one in charge. It was always like I'm making some decisions, but nobody's treating me as if I'm making decisions most of the time.
I gotcha. So what would you say is maybe the biggest misconception that you feel the community might have had about you at the time? What did they get most wrong at the time about you personally?
So I would say that the thing that the community got the most wrong about me, at least in the beginning and through certain stages of what I was trying to accomplish, I was looked at as having like way too big of an ego for my circumstance and for maybe my place in the hierarchy of backyard wrestling. But it wasn't even an ego about me. I was a mark for my friends. So like I put B Snow over. I put Hack Edgeman over. I put Devin Bliss over. I put Sean Phoenix over. I put everybody that I liked that were friends of mine. I would act like what they did was the coolest fucking shit I ever seen in my life, because to me it was. But to them I was, oh, look at that guy. He's always putting his friends over and he thinks their shit's so hot shit. And it's like, No, but I did because I loved my friends. It wasn't an ego related thing. It was just I'm so happy that my friends and I are out here getting to do this, and I want you guys to enjoy what we enjoy doing. So can you watch our shit? And like I'll make you a cool little music video so you can watch it easier. But like I just loved my friends and the people that I was doing this stuff with so much that I guess it became like I heard something one time like if Sick Rick got Ric Flair to a BYS, he would wrestle Beast Snow. And like that was probably fucking true for a couple of years just because that's what I wanted to see. I was the booker and we're all doing the way that backyard wrestling works is like we're playing wrestler, right? So I'm playing booker. And if I get to fantasy book but with real people, I'm still going to do it my way. Like, I'm not trying to sell tickets. I'm trying to put on a show that I want to watch, you know? So, in that circumstance, like, yes, I was maybe overbooking some of my friends or whatever, but, like, who were they going to face, you know? Like, these are my peoples. They're helping me. If it wasn't for B Snow and CBYW, BYS wouldn't be anything cool at all. So, yes, I'm going to put Snow in a good match, as many opportunities as I get. And if it wasn't for Ed being right in my hip pocket for 3 years, then there would be no SWC to begin with. It was him and I doing everything. So yes, whenever Jonathan Hitler comes to Pittsburgh, I'm going to railroad until I get to see Hack Edgerman versus Jonathan Hitler. But it wasn't an ego thing. It was strictly, I love my peoples and I just want to see them do cool stuff.
And you want the world to see what you see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I would love it if like, and even to this day, even as we're doing the podcast, I will take every chance I get to say Hack Edgerman's the GOAT, and everybody needs to understand that. Because in my eyes, he fucking was. Like, I love the kid. I loved what he was doing. He helped me. I helped him. Maybe it was rose-colored glasses. Maybe it was just like, I don't know. But like, it did get to be a thing for a while where people thought that maybe I was overbearing with how I pushed the Midwest. And probably a lot of the reason why the Northeast people behaved the way they did towards the Midwest people.
Would you say, I guess looking back at everything, say towards the end of your backyard career, would you say this is a weird question maybe, but would you say that you're comfortable with the way you're perceived? Would you say that, like as you kind of said, that maybe there's some misconception as to how you treated people and what you wanted everybody to see, who you put over?
Yeah.
But would you say that you kind of left things in a way that you're happy with? Even if you could answer that with just personally, and then also with your in-ring career.
Yeah, right.
So just start it off however you want.
Yep.
Just say looking back, maybe.
Yeah. No, I got that. I'm trying to.
So just figure out what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
Take your time.
So unfortunately, I think my story had a very good arc for 3 years. And from like 2009, 2010, and 2011, I was doing everything that I said that I could do, would do, wanted to do. I did it all. I wrestled all the people I wanted to wrestle to, or wrestle from. I'm just going to restart that whole thing. Unfortunately, I had a really good arc for about 3 years, from like 2008, 2009.
Just answer it comfortably, like you're talking to me outside.
Right. So unfortunately, I had a great arc from like 2009, 2010, 2011, and started off as the guy that nobody even wanted to necessarily do anything with, yard related, you know, in that manner. Till like 2011, I had wrestled everybody. I had some of the 2 or 3 of the best shows that Backyard Wrestling had seen in 5 years. Made friends with a whole bunch of people. Got to pretty much do like all the experiences that I was watching of these music videos and all the stuff that I had come up wanting to be a part of. And not only was I now a part of it, I was in it and making the music videos and booking the shows. And like I was the community, not by myself, but like me and the people doing the stuff, we were the community, you know? And that was unbelievably cool until like 2012. And I guess whenever I hit the peak in 2011, where I was finally like, I did it, you know? Like, here it is, fucking suck it. I was right. as soon as I got that feeling, all like the drive kind of went away, and it became I'm going to BXW, and I love BXW. It was great, but it became like I'm going to BXW because there's a party and we're gonna wrestle. And whenever it was in Pittsburgh or Ohio or Indiana, it was like we're going to wrestle and maybe stay up for a little bit afterwards, hanging out, and then we're gonna wake up the next day and wrestle again. And as soon as that like mentality shifted for me, I think I became really complacent in my position in the community. And not only that, but like the person I was to these people. And my life was changing because I met somebody through backyard wrestling who ended up like moving out to Pittsburgh to live with me for a while. And so that made it so that we would travel back to her hometown and go to that fed every now and then. And I became more of a regular there because the stuff we were doing completely died. At the end, though, I am very, very unhappy with how it like finished. Like I feel like I didn't get a final chapter because I had so much going on and my life was changing so much that I want to say it was like 2014 or so, maybe 2013. I didn't go to any shows for an entire year, and whenever I didn't feel missed even a little bit. And I had a couple friends who messaged me like, "Hey man, what's up? When you coming to a show soon?" But like in terms of the community, I didn't feel like what I did was missing from what they are still doing. And whenever I got that feeling, that kind of compelled me even a little less to want to go because the position that I was in previously, I felt like I was needed, and it was a good feeling. And then feeling like I was asking for a spot on the card or whatever near the end was something that I wasn't interested in, and I was in like a not great place, and having to like ask for stuff that I felt like I wish that people were asking me to do was not something that I was trying to accomplish. So like my whole last year I don't love. And like my last match even, while like I did wrestle two people in my last match. It was a triple threat match at the last ever BXW show. One of them was James Conley, who went on to wrestle Chikara as the Whisper and did other Northeast stuff. And the other guy in the match was Dynamite Davis, who passed away a couple years after. And I might have been his last yard match too. I don't know. But just like I watched the match recently, very creatively unfulfilling. Like that is not what I want on tape as my last match.
So with that being said, what's the need? Why the reunion show?
Oh, okay. This is the shit right here. So this is kind of a longer answer. Should I go back a little bit, like start with the podcast, kind of?
Well, if you want to answer my question, just in summary, if you can, and then I was going to go to the podcast.
Okay.
So I don't want to say as quick as you can, but just
I feel you.
As quick as you can.
Yeah. I think the biggest reason why this reunion show is so necessary is because since the last show that any of us did, it has already been 10 years. And I couldn't imagine whenever I was in high school thinking one day it'll be 10 years since we've all even seen each other. Because this was like a monthly occurrence, meeting people all over the place for years, just all of us getting together all the time. And then all of a sudden a decade just completely disappears. And whenever I noticed that and the itch was starting to form a little bit and we were getting back into like looking at the stuff that we did before and realizing like, well, that guy's married and that guy has a kid now and that guy is so
you pick it up right from there.
Yeah. So it's that guy's married and that guy has a kid now and that guy owns his own business, and I haven't seen them since we were 23, 24, 25 years old, and now we're all in our 30s. And if this decade went by this quick, how fast is the next one going to go? Am I going to be 60 years old thinking like, I really wish I spent at least one more weekend with my friends that were such a big part of not only like growing up, but like my life in general. We would wake up every single day and check these message boards and communicate with each other and post media and see videos and pictures. And now that you see the occasional Facebook post and you're scrolling that type of stuff, but like time, it's just impossible to get more of it. So
let me stop you there. Do you, because we'll start from here and then we'll go back up to the show.
Yeah.
So you would say that the friends of this community are probably your closest friends that you have, minus a few in town.
Yeah.
So tell me how difficult or how do you feel about having the closest people in your life spread out throughout the country?
Sure.
How difficult is that?
Yeah. And the hardest part about all this is that like you make so many good friends with people literally not only even all over the country, but the continent. And even I met a really good friend that is from the UK. So obviously that's not somebody that you can see all the time. And like, yeah, sure, I have Ohio friends that are a couple hours away that I could in theory go visit. But not being able to actually hang out with these people, it dampens the friendships that we created while we were growing up. And like you get such like a feeling of empty interaction on the internet. And maybe not you, maybe me. I get a feeling of empty interaction on the internet. And like I'm not the type that loves a phone call, but I think I would rather a phone call every now and then to keep up with a friend more so than just seeing a Facebook post or an Instagram post or something occasionally like that. So it's like it really is a struggle, and it makes me like, because of that, I really appreciate the friends that I do have locally because I get to hang out with them and I see them and I see their life changing and I'm watching them grow as I grow. And so I think having like a lost connection with a lot of these people that are all over the country has made my local friendships a lot stronger. Just because I appreciate them a lot more because I know what it takes to like a friendship is a lot like a relationship with a spouse or something. Like you have to put in the effort and try to hang out with them and hey, what's up, man? What's new in your life? Like, can I buy a car off you? How you doing? You know? Yeah. So I think that's the thing. So
as little or as much time as you want to spend on this, how would you say you felt as a teenager when you were forming those friendships? Like you're realizing these are the closest people in my life, like for a good way. How difficult is that to I guess maybe be yourself off of the internet? Does that make sense? Like, cause is she calling you? Your monitor also went to sleep.
Nice.
Do you understand what I'm asking though? Like, how would you say? How was it forming those friendships over the internet, where you can't call B Snow and say, "Hey, do you want to go grab dinner?"
Right.
You know what I mean? Or just answer something like that.
Yeah, right. I think the weirdest part about forming friendships over the internet is that you have to presume that you know a lot more about these people than you actually do. And you have to take chances when you go places for the first time. And you think you know because you watch them wrestle or seen a couple of their quips on a message board. But for the most part, you do not know who these humans are until you spend time with them, right? And whenever you finally get face to face and you have interactions and conversations and share jokes with each other, and then that first hour that you're there turns into 48 hours or gone already and you're going home and you cannot wait to go see that person again. Like, I love the crew. I want to hang out with them. Like, you guys did a show, so literally 30 days from now, we're doing a show. Come out to Pittsburgh, please. 30 days after that, we'll go to Indiana, then we'll go to Chicago, then we'll go to Ohio. Like, we were making these plans months in advance. So, like, we didn't even necessarily have time to miss each other because it was always like, go to a show, come home, post the media, plan the next one, figure out your match, and go to the show. So we were always interacting, and even more so than, like, I would say random people in high school that you might have a class with or whatever, like those type of friends that you would never hang out with outside of school, but when you're in that one class, you say what's up to them. It's like I felt like I was seeing these wrestling people more often, even though it was only like a month, because of how frequently we interacted on the internet.
Yeah, I gotcha. Are you cool to take a quick break? I just want to check something on the camera.
Yeah. So, one night, scrolling Twitter, I happened to see that our boys from Ohio, B Snow, Devin Bliss, Cody Jacobs, Jacob Martinez, Caleb, they had their own podcast that they had been doing for a while called Top Turda. And they decided to look back on their backyard wrestling stuff a little bit through their journey, right? And they had a few episodes and I listened to them and they were really fun to listen to, but me being me, I saw the quality that they were putting out and like the quality of their stories and all that. Fun. Loved listening to it. It was great. But whenever it came to like the production value, I saw so much room for like expanding what they were doing and like how I would go about it if I were to just make a whole podcast about only the backyard wrestling stories, because there are just so many of them and it lasted for 5-10 years for some of us. So like we could literally talk for 100 episodes and still not tell all the stories. And so I started to try to figure out like, maybe this is something that we could get our friend group back together. And by our friend group, I mean me, JP, Hack, Dominic, Steve, later Josh moved back from LA literally just to join the podcast for no other reason except for like he just wanted to be a part of Golden Triangle Media. So we're doing all this and we're setting it up and it's starting to feel exactly like 2009, but we're just adults. And not only are we more adults in terms of our behavior, but also our finances are a lot more adult and we're able to get beautiful 4K cameras and microphones for the whole studio in the house that Dominic just bought. And everything was just falling into place by itself without us even really having to do anything. And everybody was interested in getting back together to creatively express ourselves for the first time together as a group in years, since we were making music together and doing backyard wrestling and traveling and just hanging out sometimes. Like all the stuff that we used to do, we wanted to kind of try and bring that back so we could not necessarily relive the glory days, but to turn today into more glory days, you know? And it was awesome. We were having so much fun watching, talking about it. The first episode was a little wonky. We were figuring stuff out, but like as soon as I posted that first one, I had people message me like, wow, this is cool. You guys are doing awesome stuff. And I had people that I talked about on the podcast call me and maybe talk for an hour while they were driving about some of the stories that I told about them and what their perspective was on the story. And it was so fun to be back in that mindset again of like just creatively expressing with a group of people that I enjoy creatively expressing with. And as time goes on from that, you start to watch it and you see the stuff. And I'm not too old, right? Like I'm not AJ Styles, I'm not The Undertaker. They could still have a wrestling match. So like me at 33, why could I not maybe have a match? So as soon as that thought pops into your head, your two options are, no, I'm too old, it's not going to work, or let's fucking do it. And as soon as you decide on let's fucking do it, now you have to get other people to decide on let's fucking do it. And that was the one thing that I was most confident about, because I knew that if I was feeling this way, then there's no way that 70% of the community wasn't also feeling this way. So what I did was I kind of tested the waters a little bit, and I would tweet something randomly like Sick Rick and Mike Damage present Backyard Week 2 in 2025 and just see what people would say. And after a few months of that, I got messages from a couple people like, hey, are you actually doing something? And wouldn't it be fun if I did, you know? Like Pittsburgh's a nice place. If it were to happen, why would we not want to do it in Pittsburgh, right? And then I decided, all right, to really see what we're working with here, I'm going to make a best of backyard wrestling music video, because I got back into the video editing with the podcast, enjoying doing music videos, big boy money, big boy computers, paying for the Sony Vegas program instead of stealing it for a change. So I actually am using it in a proper manner, you know? So I put 6 months of work into a music video, and I get footage from as many different people as I can, and I organize it and I make it emotional, and I work really, really hard on this video, and then I post it. And all I said was, some of you knew I was working on this, some of you didn't, but this is my love letter to our community, you know? And it popped. 2,000 views in the first week. Everybody sharing it, writing whole paragraphs of what the community means to them and how much that video reflected what they saw in their mind's eye whenever they thought back to the stuff that we were doing. And as soon as I struck that emotional chord, I was like, game time. 2 days later, GBYWN, I hope you're sitting there as emotional as you possibly can be. We're having a show, and I want you to come. So whenever I realized that everybody was interested, and they were not only interested but willing, I started asking as many questions as I possibly could, because whenever it comes to these reunion shows, a few people have tried over the last 6 years or so to actually do a bigger style reunion show to get everybody back together. And stuff has always seemed to come up, like whether it be maybe people aren't necessarily as set in stone interested as they make it out. They're like, yes, I'd love to come hang out with you guys. And then it's like a month before the show and I forgot that was even happening. And it's as you hear stories of that kind of stuff, maybe it demoralized a lot of people. So whenever I posted the initial, we are going to do this show, it will be happening in the fall of 2024. And whenever I said that, it was the winter of 2023. So I was giving people as much time as I possibly could to get their shit together, actually call off work, make plans, buy tickets. And also I wanted to give myself enough time to hype all this stuff up. And with that, whenever you're doing something like this, there's a network. And if you're in the network, you know who to talk to in each location in order to get a vibe for that group of people. So the very first step is, after obviously the Facebook post where everybody says they're in, then you start hitting up the communicators of each sect. And whenever I got through about 5 or 6 of those dudes, and every single one of them's like, it could be me and 3 guys that come out in a car. It could be me and 2 other cars that follow us. Or I want to come. I don't know about my boys, but I'll buy a plane ticket tomorrow if you set this stuff in stone. And the more I got genuine, like, early confirmations, it made it so easy for me to just dive in and start figuring it. Because, like, we don't have anything, right? Like, there's literally nothing going on. Back in the day when we would have a show, I have a venue already. I have a ring, a base, whatever. We know where the show's going to be. We have a couple cameras. We have people to operate them. Maybe if it's in the woods, we need to get a generator, but that's the extent of it, right? At this point in our lives, that is not enough. If we were to do something like that, we would need permits and a real ring and accoutrement all over the place. We would have to make sure that everything's done properly, and I have never run a professional wrestling show in my life. I've run 10 backyard wrestling shows, like a bigger stature, but never even a show in a ring. Untrue, BXW. Never a show in a professional ring that I actually had to work on, right? So starting from the ground level, the very first thing is, where can we do this at? And my first option was, I have a friend in New York whose brother owns a ring. And I was like, hey, I will pay for you to pack up this ring, put it in a U-Haul, drive it down to Pittsburgh. I'll buy a venue down here. I'll go through the athletic commission. I'll get a promoter's license, whatever I have to do. Because I saved up a budget over the course of this time because I knew that it was going to fall on me, right? And if I wanted this show to be what I wanted it to be, I had to be willing to make some financial sacrifices, which more than okay with. Whatever it took to make this show happen was what I was going to do. And like the U-Haul situation and the renting a venue and the getting the insurance thing, the price stacked up so quick, and it wasn't more than I was willing to do, but it was definitely way more than I wanted to do. So start to look for plan B, right? And thankfully for us, we have somebody currently in the professional wrestling scene on our podcast that we're already working on. and that's Sean Phoenix, and he has ins with at least a few different promoters that may own rings locally enough, so he threw a few names my way. And we started talking about that a little bit, like maybe we could do it here or there, whatever. And that became like the best case scenario for where we were going to go about having the show.
Stop. I just want to reposition just a tad.
Yep.
Can you do me just a quick favor and bring that side of your body just this way a little bit? Or is there any way, because I know I moved you forward the other direction, can you move your whole self closer to your bed? Yeah, that's cool. And it's on me just because I told you to move forward, but sometimes, and it's a good thing when you talk with your hands because it's natural, it's just a little out of frame.
Yeah.
So, but I just want to make sure I get your computer and everything in there too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. So, okay, so you got connections, you could make this happen. And by the way, how did you feel whenever everybody said that there's genuine interest in the show? How did that make you feel?
So when everybody started like actually showing the interest and I knew that it was like legit, I was almost a little surprised, right? Because like I said, at the end of my run, I felt like what I was doing was not really missed too much. And not in a like pity way, just in a like me personally way. Like I don't have to be there for them to keep doing their thing. But in this situation, whenever I made that post and everybody reacted the way they did, and people started messaging me coming out of the woodwork that I haven't talked to in years, and I realized like this time they did miss me. Like it literally had to be me, because if it wasn't anybody else, this would not be happening. And like that's not an ego thing. That is just 100% facts. Like I went so far above and beyond since the idea even started for this to get us to where we are. Like, and not only that, but the people that showed the genuine interest, I kept up with them. Every person, I had a mental list from the first day. All right, I need to talk to all these people all the time. You're still good, right? You're coming. How's the work looking? What's your travel situation? Maybe you can group up with this guy that's also coming so that you guys don't have to drive alone. Like I have put in more effort doing this one show than I had to put in the entire time we did backyard wrestling before. And like, as much as this isn't even backyard wrestling anymore and outside of like the community of backyard wrestling, the effort is just so exponentially higher than anything that I've ever had to do before. So whenever people started giving me that energy back, it allowed me to feed even more effort into it. So every time I got a hit of that adrenaline and those endorphins started flying and yes, you're excited, so am I. Here's a poster, here's a flyer, here's something that we can do. We're going to rent this building and we're going to stay here for the whole weekend. It's going to be awesome. We're going to go to the amusement park on Friday night and go to my restaurant. Like it's just, the more people fed into me, the more I was able to give back to it. And that has basically allowed this project to get to the point it's at. It's just like mutual hype, you know?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. So back in 2009, whenever we were running these shows, as I said earlier, it was a lot of me, also a lot of Steve. He was our connection to a lot of the bigger name guys of the past, right? The people that he came up with were kind of the superstars of our community, the guys that everybody wanted to wrestle with and have be on their shows, right? And because Steve had this connection already, he put that to work in getting us these people that other people didn't necessarily have access to, or at least couldn't convince them to come to the shows, right? So they start trickling in one at a time, and we're getting people that people want to see to wrestle on the same shows as people that they maybe didn't necessarily want to see. So they were then being forced, like I have to watch the media of the show if I want to see what Yakuza J is doing in Pittsburgh in 2009 or what Zane's doing in Pittsburgh in 2007. Like, why were these guys coming here and not other places, right? And the answer was because of Steve. I didn't know them at all. Became friends with them along the way, but friendships helped build my dynasty, you know, our dynasty. And everything that I did wasn't an I, it was a we. And it was the friends of SWC, Hack, Josh, JP, little Dominic when he wasn't in college, a couple other people. Everybody helped, but it was me and Steve. And I didn't necessarily have to bounce ideas off of him. He didn't necessarily have to bounce ideas off of me. We just picked our positions and geared in. So naturally, whenever we're going to do another one of these shows, it only makes sense that I go to the right hand, like The Awakening, me and Steve. Traveling out to BXW, me and Steve. BYS is all over the place, me and Steve. So it was our thing together that we would do. So having that safety net for so long made it very easy for me to not put any pressure on myself with these shows, because anything that I maybe drop the ball on a little bit, he would notice and pick up, and same thing vice versa. So only made sense. Hey, we're having a show. Would you like to help? It's completely up to you, whatever you want to do. If you want to wrestle on the show, if you want to help us find the venue, if you would like to help us set stuff up and book the card and do the entrance way, anything that you would like to do, I would like to have your help. But if you don't want to do anything, fine as well. Very quickly, he said yes. He was down. The stigma of being a backyard wrestler isn't necessarily anything like what it used to be. And on top of that, this isn't much of a backyard wrestling show anyway. I mean, it to an extent it is, but there's an indie promoter will not see you doing what we're going to be doing and think yarder. It's not the case anymore. So he had ins to multiple promoters, and one of them had an excellent location for a backyard wrestling show. We checked it out when we went to go film a commercial for Josh. We did his car salesman stuff. I got back in the ring for the first time, man, threw on a mask, hit a senton, started doing some stuff, and I was loving it. I was ready. Had that little headache you get whenever you first take a bump, but I was excited, dude. It was so much fun. And being in this venue, the venue was in a mall parking lot, hotels everywhere, all the food you could possibly eat. Like it was like a town that was built to be taken over by 50 dudes for a weekend, And the venue itself was perfect. We couldn't have asked for anything better. All the room we could need, all the parking we could need, bathrooms, lighting, skylight, entranceway, everything. It was just there for us. And we would have had to do a lot more production stuff, like in terms of lighting and figuring out, because it was a training center more so than an actual show venue. But it was set up for us, dude. And I loved it. I loved the location. And this is about 7 months outside of the show, and we have the date set and we know what we need to accomplish. So we're there, we go through the motions, and I say we should do it here. Like if it's possible, we should do it here. And it was already at one point offered by Steve. He said that, hey, I got this guy. He'll rent the venue to me and we can have the show there. And when that was told to me, I was like, oh, awesome, cool. Let's go see the show, see what's going on. We get done with it, and I realize we need the place, and I accept that offer. And during that process, I had a conversation with Steve where I explained to him, look, I understand that there are a lot of people in the community that maybe don't see eye to eye with you right now. And with that, I obviously don't care because I have you on our podcast. I feel the way that Steve was being treated was unfair. And that, like, everybody's going to have their own opinion, whatever, but I feel like the punishment did not fit the crime. And I felt like the fair thing to do would be to put him on our podcast, get him back in the public eye, allow him to maybe tell a little more of his story, show people that even though what happened, what corresponded, or whatever the word is, whatever went down that caused this situation, that's not going to be a thing anymore. He has learned that he shouldn't have done that, and we're all going to try to move on, right? So I tell Steve, I say, if anybody doesn't like that you're going to be there, that's their problem. If they really have that big of an issue with it, then they don't need to be coming to the show. Now, it's going to be open. I want everybody to be there. But if somebody says what Steve did does not sit right with me and we need to not have Steve there, then my opinion was, well, then you can just not come because he will be there. And whenever I expressed that to Steve, he said to me, that's cool, but just so you know, if any of those guys do come, I will not be. And I was like, what? I mean, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because this is giving you that opportunity that we were always trying to give you to get back into the public eye and to tell your story and to allow people to maybe see that they were incorrect on how they treated you. And I feel like this is an opportunity more so than it is like a reason to have sour grapes still. Like, let's try to move on. And even if not, like, maybe just let's not talk to them. You know, like, maybe there's going to be 50 to 100 people at this show. Maybe let's just like stay on different sides of the room. And there are plenty of people in the community that he is still really good friends with that want to see you. So come to the show, be part of it, do all the stuff, and just maybe ignore the people that you feel treated you incorrectly, right? And like, I understand his point of view to an extent. He believes that these people caused him to be extremely depressed, to be in a bad state of mind, there's a long thing about it that I don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about, but he attributes that to these specific people, right? And my opinion on that, at the end of the day, comes like, you need to have accountability for yourself, because these people didn't out of the blue decide we're gonna attack Sean Phoenix. Sean Phoenix did something that these people had a reaction to. That is his fault. Like, did they overreact? Yes, I agreed with that. That's why I wanted him to have an opportunity, right? But you have to have accountability for your actions and understand that there are consequences. And even with that, these people knew he was going to be there and reached out to me saying, hey, do you think there's a way we can talk about this? Like, maybe we can, if you put me in with Sean Phoenix, then we can discuss together and maybe try and bury some of this shit. Because I would like to come to the show. And, you know, even if we can't bury it, maybe we could just stay on other sides of the venue. And I'm like, that's what I've been trying to tell him. And he doesn't want anything to do with that. Like, any thought process that comes with maybe I did something wrong is not something that he was willing to accept. So because of that, the blame has to now be shifted to me for trying to open up a show for the whole community of people that very legitimately did nothing wrong. They responded, maybe harshly, to something that you did. And that being I can't ban them from coming to the show because they reacted to your action. Like, that would be just as hypocritical to me as saying Steve can't come to the show because I didn't agree with the way he was treated and I don't agree with the way that he's acting about them. So for me, this is an open door policy. And if you haven't broken a law, you need to get over the bullshit, man. Like, we're not kids. Like, literally grow up and accept some responsibility for your shit. I've had to accept responsibility for my shit in my life. There's a reason I wasn't in the community for 9 years. I had shit going on. You have to accept that sometimes you're not right. And even if somebody, and this is something that I heard Steve say before, he said, who am I to tell them how they feel? And that's exactly what you're doing. You're trying to tell these people how they are allowed to react to something that you did that wasn't okay to two people, you know? And I don't think it was the worst thing in the world. I think that it was a big enough deal to a couple people, and then maybe you just stay away from each other. So because of all this, everything that went down in this couple month span, we lost the perfect venue. And I was literally heartbroken because I was 7, 6, 8 months away from having 100 people that are very excited to be doing this, that I put all this effort into getting them excited, and I'm kind of up shit's creek without a paddle now. There is no venue. And like, immediately go straight back to, do I call Scott and have him get the ring, bring the U-Haul down, rent a building, get a promoter's license, like right away, immediately back to plan A. Because if that's what I have to do at this point, money is no longer an object. Every single person that's coming, I'm sure that if I told people that this was getting deep in my pockets, then there would be $20 handed to me left and right. So I was no longer concerned about the money, and I was like, we have to immediately solve this. And because of that, I got like anxious and panicky. And I did not know what the hell I was going to do outside of that one option, you know? And the first thing that I did was completely removed myself from the internet. I wasn't going to post about it. Nobody needed to know. I knew I would figure it out, but I could not allow people to be worried. And if I posted or said anything, maybe people could read between the lines on some stuff, and I was not going to allow that to happen. So I removed myself for about 10 days, and out of the blue, I get a text message from Josh, and it says, "What do you know about T2T?" I say, "Nothing. You tell me." Well, up in New Kensington, there's these group of guys. He has a training facility up there. He also looks like he runs shows out of the place. I have a friend that does video work for them, and it looks like it might be a viable option, you know? And I pretty much, I think that same day, emailed the owner of this company, MV Young, fantastic person. Every interaction that I've had with him has been above and beyond what I could expect from somebody that I'm just trying to rent their building for the first time, who I've never met before in my life, you know? And stark contrast from the situation that I had dealing with trying to rent the previous building, like literally the complete opposite. So I message MV Young and I say, "This is who we are. This is what we want to do. Is there any way we could get your building for a weekend?" And within a half an hour, I get an email back. "Building's open that weekend. This is the price. We would love to have you." Boom. Let's fucking go. Josh saved the day. My pockets are still fine because it's not nearly going to cost as much as it would have to do all the other shit, you know? So now we're back in like go mode. Okay, let's re-announce the new venue, show people what we're working with. They're actually doing shows in this venue, so they're already set up for the production side of stuff, and they have a lot of stuff that maybe the other place didn't have to offer us. And while it may be a little smaller and a little darker, a little dirtier, or like in a different part of town, not as many food, none of that shit matters because it is perfect for backyard wrestling. Like, it is as backyard as you could be while being inside. And I couldn't ask for like a more vibey place for what we're trying to accomplish. And it just so happens it's right up the street from the coolest Airbnb I've ever seen in my life. We have a church turned into a concert venue that doubles as a hotel, and we're going to pack all the dudes in there. And like, that is something we would have not had if we had the other venue. The other venue would have been people spread out over 5 different hotels based on their price range and maybe a couple people intermingling. No, we're going to have 20, 25 dudes in a hotel just like we used to do back in the day. And all this stuff leads me to believe that like this was the right choice. Like, I do miss the venue, but all the benefits and all the stuff that comes with what we're going to be able to accomplish in New Kensington, and how easy it is to deal with MV Young as opposed to the other people that I was dealing with, and the freedom that we're going to have to allow whatever we want to happen there, because I've already spoke about that and I saw the type of matches that they have there. Like, it's literally a canvas for us, and I don't necessarily think the other venue would have been too much of that. I think there would have been a lot more restrictions, and it would have still been fun, and we would have had like maybe a cleaner looking show, maybe with a little more space to sit and maybe have a folding chair or two. But like, this is backyard wrestling. This is what it needs to be, because this is what we are.